Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Transformers Friday from the Toybox edition. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the 2006 Transformers Classics Deluxe Class Ramjet. Let's get into it! Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories in his alt mode. And first up, we do have the handy dandy instruction manual. And it does tell you Transformers, Robots in Disguise, Decepticon, Ramjet. And these instructions are made out of a more premium paper than what we are used to now. It's very glossy, very smooth, very nice feeling, and the illustrations are much crisper on this paper. Nothing on the back side though, but that's okay. So there's that. Now let's take a look at Ramjet in his plain mode, and you can see right here, instead of like regular Decepticon logos, he has to reveal the shield. And oh my gosh, he's a Decepticon. And you know, overall I have to say the plane looks very nice. There are some cockpit details on the inside here, not back here, that's just a screw, but you really can't see because of the lights and there. Maybe you can see in there now some a little bit. So that's cool that they actually, on something this size, and put that cockpit detail in there. So he's got some nice stripes here, and it's got some nice colorations here, and just all over. And it looks really nice. From the side, it's not too bad. From the bottom, a little less so. But overall, not horrible. Seen worse. But he does have visible face syndrome under there. So there's that. But not a deal breaker. And overall I have to say this is a very nice looking plain mode. Like everything that they did on this mold, retools and all that stuff, usually looked pretty good in the alt mode. And the robot mode as well. Now he does have these missile launchers, and unlike the Earthrise one, you know, these look more like the original's weapons. And they do still work, at least let's make sure they do. There went one. Fire two! Fire two! So, those still work, and that's very cool. And another thing that the Earthrise didn't carry over is it's got some, you know, non-rolling landing gears, just enough to give it a little height up off the ground. There's two back here, and then there's two up here. And I wish they kind of would have carried that over a little bit, but they opted not to. So there you have it, my friends. There's a look at the figure and accessories in his alt mode. It's time for alt mode comparisons. And here we have the 2006 Transformers Classics Deluxe Class Ramjet with the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy Earthrise Voyager class Ramjet. For our last set of alt mode comparisons, here we have 2006's Transformers Classics Deluxe Class Ramjet with the Transformers Titans Returns Legends Class Bumblebee and the Amazon exclusive Transformers Generation Selects War for Cybertron Trilogy Earthrise Leader Class Alternate Universe Optimus Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the comedy portion of our program where I attempt to transform this Transformer. So, first thing you want to do, or at least that I want to do, is untab or unpeg these. There's a port, there's a post, and Bob's your uncle. So, the next thing I think that you have to do is the wings. You have to tilt them down a little bit, and then once you do that, this piece you can tilt up and then like so, and you can see that does twist up out of the way a little bit. So let's go ahead and pull the legs down, and then we'll put these back in place. And unlike some of the other ones, it doesn't really, it's got this piece here, but it's supposed to go here, and it doesn't really do it very well. So we'll just go ahead and flip those on back, separate the legs, and flip the feet out. So there's that done. Now we take the landing gears up here and fold them back into position. Now, just like on the Earthrise molds, there's a hinge where this piece comes out, and you do fold the arms out. They don't extend like on those molds, but just like on the Earthrise version, there's a double hinge right here, and you tilt it forward some, you spin it around, and then it lowers down, and then you can close it back into place. Now, one thing that is different about these cone heads is the piece doesn't flip back, you just rotate it around, which is not easy to do when it's all closed up. So do it before you close it up. And then the hands just flip out. Unless you're like me and just can't get a hold of it. So that's what handy dandy tweezers are for, my friends. And there he is, my friends. Ramjet. All transformed. Let's take a look at the figure and accessories in his robot mode. And first up, you know, there's a lot of the paint apps that we talked about before are still on here, but we've got some, looks like gold up in here, some gold on the shoulders. We've got some gold here and here, and here and here, and then like this silver here, but it's kind of a light, very light silver, some gray right there at the crotch, and then this. So overall, I have to say, you know, very nice paint job on this one. Nicer than some of the paint jobs we get now. So let's talk about his articulation a little bit. So the head will turn a little bit when it's closed up, but it's really hard to do. But at least you can get a little bit out of it, unlike the Starscream and Thundercracker, at least on this mold. I couldn't get the heads to move at all when I was reviewing those. So, also unlike them, he can rotate his arm at the shoulder 360 degrees. You do have to put it out a little bit because this piece does get in the way. And then he can raise his arm up well past 90 degrees. And then he has a single hinge at the elbow, gives you that much bend, so not quite 90 degrees. And then at the wrist, nothing really. I mean, there's some in and out due to transformation, but you know, I don't count that. You can count it if you want to. At the hips, he gives you the full splits. He can kick forward. Let's see how far. That far. And then back that far. And then he has a single hinge and swivel at the knee. Now at the hip it does swivel a little bit because there's a ball joint in there. But just below the knee it swivels around 360 degrees. And speaking of the knee, it's a single hinge. And it gives you that much bend. Not quite 90, it doesn't look like. At least to me. And then really nothing going on down here, no tilt. And well, there's tilt due to transformation, but anyway, we talked about that already. And no rocker. Now, as far as his weapons go, this part is molded in this color plastic along with this, which is the firing mechanism, and then the rest of it appears to be molded in this color plastic. And then it looks like maybe some gold striping going on in there, so very nice. And then, you know, you load these up, you can see how it has the cross shape to it, and you just have to line the tabs up. And when you get it in there all the way, you get a nice satisfying click. And then once you have that, of course, he can hold this in his hand if that's your preferred method or appearance, but I like it classic, so it posting that port on his shoulder. And same for this. And I forgot to take a look at the missile. The missile's kind of waffly and so there is that. And then we'll put that together and click. Nice. And then again, ports in his shoulder. And that, my friends, is a look at the figure and his accessories in robot mode. It's time for my favorite part of a Transformers review, robot mode comparisons. And here we have the 2006 Transformers Classics Deluxe Class Ramjet. Next to the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, Earthrise Voyager Class Ramjet. For our last set of robot mode comparisons, here we have the 2006 Transformers Classics Deluxe Class Ramjet with the Transformers Titans Returns Legends Class Bumblebee and the Walmart exclusive Netflix Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy Earthrise Leader Class Optimus Prime. For final thoughts on the 2006 Transformers Classics Deluxe Class Ramjet, I will have to tell you, this was the first Seeker Conehead I ever owned. Never had any of the G1 Seekers until, I don't know, in the early 2000s, even earlier than this, maybe 2001, 2002. I bought a Starscream G1 reissue. And, you know, because I always wanted a Starscream and I never had one. And then I did, but that one was a little, I don't know, I expected more out of it. And when 2006 rolled around and, you know, Starscream came out and then this one came out, when I saw them in the store, because at the time, you know, there wasn't heavy, I mean, there was internet shopping, but it wasn't like it was today. You couldn't go in and pre-order an action figure that I ever saw, at least. It may have been going on somewhere, but I didn't know about it. And even then, at that time, I probably wouldn't have trusted it to do it. But, you know, it's a really good looking version of the character. I think it still holds up. In fact, it holds up so much that you will see some of the engineering that's used in this one is used on the Earthrise Seekers. So, now I won't say all of it, but, you know, there's a good bit that feels like it was the same engineering as this figure has. And of course, the sculpted detail on a Voyager class is much better than what we're getting here, but at the time, this was a great version of the figure. And as far as I know, this may have been the first modern take on Ramjet, but I could be wrong. You know, there was a lot of exclusives and club exclusives and con exclusives and stuff like that going on at the time too, so I'm not entirely sure. I guess I probably could have researched it now and found out, but I didn't, because I did a little research for this figure. I had to find out which set he came out of, which line rather. But I would have liked to have gotten, you know, all three of the Seekers, all three of the Conehead Seekers in this set, but I didn't. And again, I like Dirge. I don't even know if they even made a Dirge, so could be, might not be, I don't know. But I did eventually get the 3 Coneheads and the 3 original Seekers. Coneheads were, I completed that set in Earthrise. So it might not mean that much now, but at the time it meant a lot to me, because here I was completing Seeker teams, the original 3, the Coneheads, and then I got the Rainmakers, and then I got the, you know, the siege versions of the Seekers. That was, you know, I completed the original 3 in that set too. So it was all good and it was fun, and I was happy to complete teams. Well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I am now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content, or just help the channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.